Alrighty, guys. Welcome to the Bigfoot Researcher's Journal. We're looking at footage tonight. I'm going to bring you with me as we do a little examination. This is typically the kind of stuff that I'm working with. I'm struggling to get the creatures in real time, and then because of the aberration, and then through strange effects that occur as a result of suddenly moving the camera, we break through the aberration and we're able to see that there are these man-like creatures there, and they even have the fuzzy halo of the hair. But you can see this is like this dude in his head here. We've also got this guy over here, and we can see him, and to boot, it could be that these are his fingers, since we know this is going to be obviously one of the creatures that we study, right? Looking at the opportunities we have just from this single frame, this could be the side of a hand and some knuckles right here, the tips of fingers. It's interesting. For sure, we've got the nose area there. I'm going to make an adjustment to try to give us a little more on this guy, right? So we're going to darken up the background to bring him out a little bit, so we can look at what is going on there. Okay, so we've got really nice edge. We've got his face, and this appears to be, I'm going to say this is his fingers, man. It looks like 5 to me, man. I don't know. Is it 6? I can't tell. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 or 5. Should be 4. And the thumb should be on the other side of whatever that is. Is it on a head? It appears to be on something that has all this bumpy stuff like cheeks, nose, cheeks, kind of thing. So a big one over top, small one. A couple in the background. Is that what we're looking at? Let's broaden our highlight circle and take a look at what's outside as well once we get it positioned right. And this is a still frame, and we're still looking at the area where this other guy was, but the diffusion is doing its work, and it also appears that there's been a little bit of movement. Yeah. It's interesting. You can see this thing's eye perfectly right here, and that pupil, or retina and pupil right there, appears to be dark. We got nasal passage. The mouth area, I think there's some bushes possibly screwing around and coming off the side of this, and then I think we've got his hand up possibly on top of another one, because we've got a good line here that we can see is solid throughout frames. And sure enough, we're getting some of this gray skin here. So what are we looking at here? Well, I mean, we can see that there's one up here. It appears that there's a very large something in the background behind this one. Now, what I can tell you from my own experience and seeing them through thermals, look at this, is let me put a little, I'm going to remove some of this and bring the shadows here so we can really get a look at what's going on in this bush over here. Okay, so what we have here appears to be like a person. It really does look like kind of a ancient kind of person standing here. Ooh boy, look at the difference over here. Watching this area right here as I adjust this shadow area. Look at that thing. How about that? It's a little frightening, man. When you understand that this is how they look, we're getting that eye again really good. Let's play around with light and see what else we can see here. We've got some bumps going on down here that are, indicative of, what we find on their faces. And sometimes we could be looking at really big creatures and we didn't realize that. But this does seem to be pretty dark back in here, and then we've got some obvious stuff going on with this rounding feature here. And this is another really good sign that we're dealing with this species that we've been studying, as that appears to be a brow, possibly, and being that it's solid over, I'm looking at it as probably that's what it is. But are there individuals in the foreground? whatever's going on, we're getting this round brow, and it appears to even be suggestive of eyes in here. These are the types of things we know we've got. This guy here, he looks great. I mean, this is great footage, you know. This is the kind of stuff that I've, built crypto reality on, and our understandings that continue to get more footage. So we're getting a little bit of movement throughout these frames, and again, we can zoom in a little bit if this helps, and we'll take a look a little bit closer at the eye. We've got this big creature here. Looks like there's a couple of them hanging out, maybe a group, and they appear to be, behind each other. Something large in the back, possibly, but this guy right here, amazing. Look at this. And, if we take these frames and zoom in on them, we get an even better look, and I'm going to make it kind of close so you guys can get the full deal here. We got the bounce back coming from two different areas, right where we're saying we got eyes, right? And in this frame before it, we've got the retina, we've got the shape, we're looking good. Nasal passages, big chunky nose, changing positions like crazy in this footage, right? Are these fingers? They appear to be fingers. We're looking. We got some fingers, so he's got his fingers up or his hand up on top of this other one's head. We've got the shape. We've got some other stuff going on here, but definitely some interesting. And look at this right here, right? Huge brow, huge hominoid standing in the back behind this thing. Okay, now I'd venture a guess this thing's head comes up, and there's some interesting aspects of this particular species of hominoid that we're starting to notice. And this does appear to be one here, and it could even be that this is the guy's ear. Like, if we look at this, what we're able to pull out with a little bit of manipulation from the light sources is absolutely incredible. I mean, look at the size of this brow back in there. I mean, look at these things. They're enormous, right? And when we really look at how big they are, here's the train. These are 45 feet, at least 45 feet from these train tracks. These things are enormous creatures. Look at this brow again back here. That guy's a stud, bro. And it looks like he's got some company in the back, Take it or leave it, man. They're real. And sometimes it's difficult. Is this another one? My God, look at this. These flat-headed, kind of really Cro-Magnon shaped heads with this pronounced shelf looking like sunglasses in the back there. Watch out for these guys, man. These are the kind of things that people see in the Pacific Northwest outside their campers in Alaska. You know what I'm saying? And here we're in Florida, in Johnathan Dickenson State Park, observing the symmetries and bone structures and symmetries of creatures that are not supposed to exist. Take the time to examine what we're saying. You're seeing the same bone structure down here. We are really seeing some strange stuff with creatures who have enormously wide faces. This is another one right here. You can see it. If you study it, you can see it. The eye right there, man. We're getting this incredible bone structure, huge mouth area. You can even see some of this guy's teeth. Look at this thing. It's enormous. Got some of this ear, and we're getting this same thing up here. It's crazy. We got the ear down here. If you examine this footage, you're going to see these creatures right here. This is it. Trust me. I've seen them and spent a lot of time so that you can too. They're absolutely real. Be careful, stick to the trails, follow what the FWC says. You look at this guy in the background. He's got to be, several feet behind this thing. I mean, stick to the trails. Don't go looking for trouble, because trouble is out there, and you better believe it. So we're looking at some thermal footage here, and we've got multiple creatures watching our group. I've had to invert the polarity here to even get any of the heat signature. And basically we're getting one of these guys' eyes right now. You can see there's like literally like, you know, an eye in there. And it's giving off some signature. We can see the retina, but then we've got these other creatures over here, and they're watching. There's a little one here. Like I said, I've had to reverse the polarity on what was going on because they weren't showing, and we've clearly got suspects here, right? But this is a part of the thermal study where we all learn that these creatures have variations in their heat signature. Here's the heat in the actual shot, right? The ground. That's been absorbing the sun all day, so it's giving off a significant amount of heat to the extent that the creatures do not typically display a super bright heat signature, and this is the bulk of the creatures that we study. Parts of their body can. We're seeing some heat come from an eyeball in the bushes over here. And of course, you know, there's plenty of frames and variation where you get like a pulsing kind of thing where this guy's, look at the eye. And of course, he's wrapped up in the saw palmettos, but his buddy's peeking out. And just looking at the variation between the heat signature here, which is more akin to the ground brush, and actually even brighter. That's coming from inside one of the creatures. That's the thermal signature of one of the creatures coming back from his eye. And we can see that there's this kind of isosceles triangle, triangle, rectangle kind of shape. That's the eye. But this guy over here on this side is, you can see the shape of his body, man. He's like literally in there. And there's a couple of them in there. He's just kind of ducked over and he's watching as though it's bright as day. No. What's going on is we're paying attention to them. We saw this little heat signature over here and started paying attention. They're ducking as though they see us seeing them. These are the kind of behaviors that these creatures engage in where it doesn't really matter what's going on. We got a little bit of an eye shine coming back right there off the side of the left side of its face. But you can see, there he is, the whole face. And this is the heat signature of the actual bone structure of the face, right? It's definitely more akin to some of this warmer stuff. Certainly not as bright as the eye area of that one creature that we continue seeing. But we can see that we have the Bigfoot symmetry right here. And it's interesting that no matter what I do, I really can't improve that signature any more than I already have. We can see here, this is going to be the nose. We've got the eye area, the forehead, and then the face comes down. Like this is one of those goblin types. Got his hand up, looks like something like that. But you can see he's in there, and he's like literally watching us. This is one of the most disturbing aspects of conducting a thermal study, that the creatures that you're trying to study, that you're trying to identify, we can see there's that vague outline of the shape of the creature. The whole face is right here. Little ones, the eye still present, got a little more of an isosceles shape there, but we've got this hominoid watching us. And that's actually a really incredible frame. I'm not sure about you guys if I'm putting this in 4K, but we've got them. We've got a Sasquatch on film, and you can plainly see it right here. It's just that thermals in this ATF or ATN device, it really doesn't do a good job on a lot of these creatures, because a lot of these creatures are self-regulating. What does that mean? It means even if it's 100 degrees out, these guys are staying at a nominal, they're keeping their own body temperatures at nominal homeostasis. Means they're not hot. They are absolutely running circles around human beings. Look at that. We've got this guy real good right here. And this is unfortunate that we're dealing with technologies that have been dialed back as far as their ability to see these creatures. Excellent frame right there. We got the little guy over here. But forwarding studies takes a lot of effort. You have to literally go out, shoot the creatures, catch the creatures on film, and then review all the footage to see how the heat signatures vary. We can see very drastic temperature differences between this hot ground area and the temperature of this Sasquatch's face. This is the John C. Mariana Jones Hungryland Slough. This is where we catch these creatures on film almost every time we go. Very specific behaviors from us elicit very specific behaviors from them. And we have that down. Be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching, guys. The next film, we're already working on it. I think there's any number of the physiological traits that we've uncovered through the 10 years that we've been studying, both with regular cameras and thermals, that can fully explain what laymen are coming out of the field screaming, right? Creatures that don't have the same types of heat signatures. Genetically, this one is more hybridized with humans. Yeah, is that a stretch? But does it explain why some of them aren't blending in? They're more pure. Is this not what the Ketchum DNA study tells us? It tells us that as they combined, their DNA is contaminated with human DNA, making them weaker, right? So what do we get? We get the ones we see are more human and don't understand or have the abilities, the same physiological traits as the more pure representations of individuals within that field group. And we know that this exists because on thermal, we're catching ones that light up at the same time as ones that don't. What happens when the one that doesn't is standing in a bush throwing rocks at you and you're looking through a thermal and you don't see anything? There's an invisible creature throwing rocks at you, right? Right, but it's just a Bigfoot with no thermal signature, right? It's regulating its body temperature. Does that make any sense? Well, we see them from the Himalayas all the way here to the swamps of Florida. You want to go further south? I could spend 10 hours laying out encounters in South America. These things are out there, and it's these physiological traits, like being able to regulate their body temperatures, that give them the ability to vanish with this technology that we think is actually doing it. What I can tell you is this technology has been altered since I began. It used to pick all of these creatures up. Now, on my thermal, half the creatures have vanished or more. The really big ones that you would consider to be dangerous, you have to be paying attention the whole time you're there if you're going to catch them on film. These physiological traits extend to daytime observations, right? What's happening? Well, they're colorless, so they're retransmitting all of this light, and people are going, it cloaked. No, it's moving through the forest, passing through stationary bands of colored light that you can't see. So you access Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator movies to explain what you've seen, when scientifically, here it is, they're colorless and they blend in to the light you don't see. Forest canopies are loaded with diffused sunlight, picking up all the colors of the forest, and this guy just runs around changing colors the whole time. People think it's some kind of machine he's wearing. They ran up to you in the bushes. They stink. And trust me, man, if you try to push it, you'll hear them move off. This is hundreds of times. Catching some on film, and some were blending way too well for our cameras to even understand what was going on. We've linked all the proper scientists. Thank you for subscribing. If you'd like to support the study on Patreon, please do. We have 3 tiers, the $1.99 tier, the $3.99 tier, and the $10 tier. And the $10 tier is in the field. You get personal access. You can ask me and access me at any point, man. Just send me an email, and I'll try to work with you on what your problem is and help you get through it in the field, man. That's what this is about. Forwarding education of this incredible species of hominoid that we share our planet with. Alrighty, guys, so let's take a look at some of this footage. I actually used this footage to pinpoint one of the spots that we caught a creature on film a few weeks later. So this particular footage and breaking it down helped me to understand that there were more than just the individuals that we saw present, which is huge for future research, right? I can plan my shots because I know where these guys like to approach the position we're standing in. Keep in mind as you watch this that I've had to alter the exposure levels and add color filters in order to just bring this individual out to this extent. We can barely see that he's there. This is the extent that they will even blend in on thermal. If you look here, you can see a little light being reflected back from the retinas. The eye on the other giant creature over by the pine tree continues to amaze me. The heat signature coming out of that creature's eyeball. This particular set of frames is incredible because it's a little more, it's a little closer to what you would see naturally. So this is typically what we see. You cannot tell that that creature's there watching, or several. It's absolutely unnerving to think that something like this is right across this 20-foot wide canal, and then there's several of them, and they're just kind of observing us. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I made a couple of calls, and we could hear something moving in the bush across the water, and this is what we caught. Here they just kind of stalk up to you and watch you. I wonder what they're thinking. When you head into the John C. and Mariana Jones Hungryland Wildlife Environmental Area, make sure you stick to the trails, because these creatures are just off the trails. And if you're interested in having an encounter, these are the kinds of places that these creatures live. I've been researching there now since 2015. This is the place that in 2013 I saw the creature jump the trail. They are absolutely there, and we are absolutely observing one of them right there. You can see his whole head, even the outline of his body, hunched over. It looks like he has no neck and his head is down on his chest. So with understanding and awareness, we knew something was going on. We were able to determine that something else was there. So we went back and examined the footage, and we found him. We also discovered variations in body temperatures between individuals. All of this was a domino effect from the very first time I talked to an eyewitness, and they told me, yeah, I saw a Bigfoot in the John C. Mariana Jones Hungryland Wildlife Environmental Area. Enjoy the rest of the footage, guys. If you'd like to support the study, we're on Patreon, and obviously here on YouTube you can subscribe, and make sure you check your notifications, because apparently they're turning them off or something. But you can see we're making headway. We're providing a way in to begin understanding what it is everybody's up against, and that was our goal, to solve the issue as to whether they were real, and I think we've done that. We've shown these things till we're blue in our face, and then to begin understanding the creatures that we're attempting to study. That's the whole thing. Nobody ever gave us a way in, and so my wife and I sacrificed everything over the course of this decade to get this information, just this little bit of information about how they blend in with the diffused forest canopy light, and the fact that their thermal signatures can be very, very different from each other, all the way from white hot to none at all. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time on the Bigfoot Researcher's Journal.